r/ask Reddit. Which misconception would you like to debunk? You can file a missing persons report as soon as the person goes missing. No need to wait 24 hours or whatever. It's actually a law, or is proposed. I can't remember, in my state that parents must report their child missing within 24 hours or they are charged with a felony. Casey Anthony said she was just seeing if her kid turned up again somehow, like a lost cat. I was barred from participating in a school swimming race because I ate some chocolate beforehand and a teacher caught me. She said I would get a cramp and die and I had to wait 20 minutes. Even 8-year-old me knew it was complete twaddle. Your teacher had money on another kid. Eating fat doesn't make you fat. What really does it is eating more calories than what you use. The American war on fat started in the 80s. It was a huge mistake. 60s. Actually, it was between sugar and fats and Big Sugar lobbied their way to make sure it was fat to take the blame. When you have an IV cannula inserted, a needle is used to insert the cannula but then the needle is removed and you're left with a tiny thin plastic tube in the vein. I think 50% of my patients don't realize there's not a needle in their arm for hours days on end. I wish the nurse would tell this after inserting the thing. I was 10ish when I first had to spend time in a hospital. The cannula hurt and I was certain I had a 5cm needle in my elbow pit and was terrified to bend my arm. Only a year ago, at age 25, I was told that there is no metal needle left in the arm. How am I supposed to realize if I am never told? And then on top of that we get to be made fun of for not knowing this obvious thing that really isn't that obvious to someone who doesn't have direct experience with it. This applies to all fields. The McDonald's coffee lady didn't exaggerate. There is no specific Plymouth Rock, but there is an enshrined rock that someone basically picked out and people pilgrimage to. Most boring landmark ever. Curing cancer isn't going to be a single eureka moment and bam, cancer is gone forever. There are tons of different types of cancers, with different genetics and epigenetics playing into how they develop. There seem to be people out there who think Big Pharma, trademark sign, is sitting on some magical cure that they're holding out on because they want to sell treatments. To even suggest that there's one catch-all cure is so reductive of what cancer is. It's not really one disease. It's tons of different ailments with different symptoms that happen to share some commonalities in the way the cells divide and spread. Ducking thank you. The amount of people I've just wanted to slap in the back of the head for saying I know they have a cure gives me nightmares. Flushable wipes aren't flushable. Toilet paper breaks down easy in water. But you ever seen a baby wipe rip up? Those things just end up clogging pipes and ruining the sewers. Hell, New York. Sorry, London. My bad. Found a huge mass of those things, along with a bunch of other junk, the size of a bus in the sewers thanks to those wipes. If I recall correctly, makers of those wipes are allowed to call them flushable if they can get around the U-bend and out of the pipes of your home. Once they're in the sewer, what happens to them isn't considered a problem as far as the labeling is concerned, which leads to a lot of people thinking they're fine to flush, or at least those that care about those sorts of things in the first place. I haven't met too many people who believe this. I do live in New England though, but nobody was burned at the stake during the Salem witch trials. 19 people were hung, and 1 man was pressed to death, but nobody was burned. More weight. Abraham Lincoln's famous log cabin was not built during his lifetime. This was built 30 years after his death by entrepreneur Alfred Dennett. Giving a cat milk is a very bad idea. Most cats are lactose intolerant and giving them milk will cause stomach problems. We could always force evolution by only giving them milk. There is no such thing as aircraft grade aluminum. It's just a marketing scam. We use many different grades and tempers depending on the application. Oh, and I suppose the Corinthian leather in my old Chrysler wasn't from Corinth either? Yep, right s. That one side of your brain controls logic and calculations etc, while the other music, art and language. And you don't just use 5% of your brain. The myth is 10%. That few people lived past their 30s in the Middle Ages or some other ancient era. This misconception arises because of an automatic and incorrect assumption people make when they hear the statistic the average life expectancy was 35 in the Middle Ages. In reality there have always been lots of people who lived to 70 plus years old in all societies. The difference was that in the Middle Ages there were many childhood diseases that caused a much higher childhood mortality rate, which skews the numbers much lower. If you survived childhood there was a very good chance you would make it into your 60s plus. I think there's another misconception about this misconception that people regularly live just as long as they do today. We still live longer than in the past, but not as extreme as it seems when looking at an average. The teddy bear was named for a bear that Theodore Roosevelt spared on a hunting trip. However, he didn't exactly spare it, and it wasn't exactly out of mercy. There was a professional trapper slash tracker slash hunter dude with him whose job was to find a bear for him to kill. However, the bear he found was so pathetic looking that Roosevelt just didn't think it worth his effort. The trapper dude just cut its neck open instead. And Teddy Roosevelt hated being called Teddy. The myth: Napoleon was really short. The truth: he was actually average height, or even a little bit above average height. How did it come about? The archaic French measurement used stated he was around 5 feet 3, when in actuality that translates to about 5 feet 7 in today's measurements, which was average for the time. You don't have OCD because you like things organized or clean. OCD is horrible and debilitating, and it's a lot less fun than feeling satisfied when things are organized. Edit. Wowie. Silver. Thanks guys. I'm glad to see this resonate with people. I was diagnosed last year and it made so many things make sense in my life. Treatment was good, but I still have to manage it. Hope you all get help if you need it. Red heart. I didn't actually shit my pants in 4th grade. Garrett put a barbecue sauce packet in my chair before I sat down. That's not what I heard. Type 1 diabetes is never ever caused by diet or lifestyle things. Like never. Not ever. What if my lifestyle choice in replacing my pancreas and ducking with my immune system? Ha, what now, smarty pants? A proposal to make German the official language of the United States of America was defeated in Congress by 1 vote. It's easily debunked by common sense. Seriously, why would they do this? And congressional records. The myth likely comes from the fact that a proposal to adjourn and discuss at a later time a petition to have laws translated to German for German-speaking residents was defeated by 1 vote. The black box, flight recorder, on an aircraft is orange, not black. The red liquid from a properly cooked steak is not blood. Don't worry. It's a piece of a dead body. Why do people get grossed out by blood on it? George Washington Carver didn't invent peanut butter. Sorry, Black History Month. It was a white Canadian bloke 50 years prior. Still, Carver did a lot of cool stuff with peanut cultivation. To add to this, Carver's work was so much more complex than merely inventing peanut butter. As great as peanut butter is, he worked hard to create and promote products and food recipes that involved peanuts and sweet potatoes because 1, those were cheap, hence more readily available to poor farmers, and 2, they were better for the soil, which had been stripped of its nutrients in his home area by cotton farming. He wasn't just some guy who put peanuts on food. He was a professor, an agricultural scientist, and an environmentalist. That Texas retains the right to secede back to the Republic of Texas whenever it wishes. Don't they have the exclusive right to split themselves into multiple states without congressional approval, though? My room and car being a mess doesn't prove I don't have OCD. In fact, if I didn't have it, it'd be easier to get things like cleaning done. I'm colorblind, but it's not all black and white. I see colors, just not like you do. I'm black and white colorblind. Babies placed for adoption at birth in the US do not go into foster care. There's a waiting list at least 36 people long for each newborn placed for adoption. That's why it's expensive. That's why people go overseas to adopt. Shaving doesn't make you grow facial hair. No, things definitely grow back longer and thicker when you shave them off. I can't wait to see my new penis. Touching a baby bird is not going to cause its mother to abandon it. An old wives' tale designed to stop kids messing with young chicks has now caused a generation of people to pass on this old belief without ever being corrected. Yes, if you see a baby bird on the ground, chances are its mother kicked it out to teach it to fly or something. But if you need to cut the grass, mow the lawn, you can lift it and put it back in its nest. Its mother isn't going to abandon it just because you touched it. That's like thinking a human mother would abandon a baby because a cat rubbed its butt on it. The nurse touched my baby. He is the daddy now. The dads aren't cool. I used to listen to Tupac on my Walkman, goddamn it. Seems like dad propaganda to me. Thinking face. At least my 5-year-old son thinks I'm cool. My teenage daughter can't handle all this coolness. The dark side of the moon isn't always dark. It's called that because it's the side that we never see. It also syncs up to the Wizard of Oz. That something needs to be direly wrong in your life before you should see a therapist. You can gain so much from therapy, even if you're not critically distressed. Ted Bundy's looks isn't how he was able to lure women. It was a numbers game with him, and he asked men or girls to help him out, and many refused. But of the men, all he needed was one to help. The ones that walked away later reported him, saying he gave off a creepy vibe. The Dark Ages, a term originally coined in the 1800s to describe around 700-1200 AD, was supposedly a period of retarded technological development and leaving limited archaeology or historical material behind. Even now, the very term conjures up images of a period in history where our knowledge is very limited, but you don't have to research that hard today to see it's total nonsense. And it was actually an era very rich in science, art, development, trade etc. Diamonds aren't actually as rare as they are made out to be. They are severely overpriced and just made to seem super expensive. I work at a store that sells work boots with safety toes. Please don't propagate the myth that you need to go a size up to make space for the toe. You want that thing as snug as possible, without your toes touching the safety toe. Loose means you move, and your toes will bump against the safety toe. You all are the reason all my customers have ducked up toes. Mind your business. Message isn't bad for you. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.